So this evening we are talking about our Kupuna, our elders, and we are also talking about the preparing for the journey. We recently in our Ohana, in our family, in our lineage, witnessed the passing of a beloved and a dear Kupuna of ours. And that is Auntie Diane Solitario. She is a she's a very beautiful elder, and she is the wife of Anakala Kumu Anakala Filippo Solitario. And so that everyone knows, Kumuhula Anakala Filippo Solitario is our direct Kumu, right? I learned from Kumupa'a Lawrence, Kalainia Kamania Ki, who's with us. And he learned from Kumuhula Anakala Filippo Solitario. Auntie Diane was is his wife. And she passed away recently. And so it's been I actually don't have the words for it. I'm still processing it myself personally. When Lawrence and I lived in Halava Valley, and Uncle Filippo and Auntie Diane come down, they hadn't yet made the move to live permanently in Halava. And so, but we knew when they were coming down every time. And so Lawrence and I would make our way up from our little hale, our little house, down the dirt path, up the little dirt road to get to their house to prepare for their arrival. So we'd have their propane lamps going, and we'd open up the house for them, and because sometimes they'd be coming in quite late, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening. And so it's dark, it's really dark in Halava when it's nighttime. And they're our elders, and they'd have many things that they would need to have unloaded and unpacked and moved up to the house. So we'd be there to greet them and to assist them in any way that they needed. And Auntie Diane, she'd have to take her time to get up the stone steps to her hale. And she really made that house into a home. It was so beautifully decorated inside and comforting and warm. And no matter how late it was, Auntie Diane would always prepare either saltine crackers and butter with tea, or biscuits and butter and tea. It's also cookies. You know, biscuits is the Australian word. Cookies is the cookies is the American word. You know, no matter how late, she'd always prepare something. She'd always make something or invite us to stay. And, you know, many a times we didn't. We'd stay long enough to help them get comfortable and get settled. And then we'd leave them be. We'd make our way back to our little house. And so, but Auntie Diane, she's just like that. Food was a very big thing. And she had some of the best, you know, to celebrate her yesterday. She always had one of my favorites was her beef stew and her cornbread with sweet corn inside. And she made this phenomenal. My favorite cake is the pineapple upside down cake. And my Aunt Debbie, my Aunt Debbie is the one actually that got me totally into that and made it my favorite when I was a child. And Auntie Diane made this incredible pineapple upside down cake. And she would make it in her cast iron skillet. And she'd butter the skillet and she'd place the pineapple on the butter. She mashed her pineapple. And she'd put it on the bottom of the pan with some brown sugar, right? And then she'd pour the yellow cake mix on top and bake it. And it was one of the most, it was so good. And Diane was always a really quiet woman, not what she needed to be, not what she needed to be, but most of the time she was very reserved. And Uncle Filippo's always out front, right? She was always in the background, just really strong and silent and present. And loving, just so loving, so soft. So this evening's Kukakuka TalkStory is about our Kupuna, is about our elders. And thinking of Uncle Filippo and thinking about Auntie Diane, and of her passing over the weekend is what inspired me to make it so. In our culture, in our tradition, in our lineage, the Kupuna held a very integral, important respected, significant, powerful place in the Ohana, in the family. And we look to them for guidance. We look to them for understanding, to continue to show us the way. And in this relationship, in this dynamic, in this place that they hold within the Ohana, within the family system, we are able to understand what our role is, and what our responsibilities are in maintaining that loving, respectful relationship to them. And we do the second part of this Kukakuka, preparing for the journey, is that we do everything that we can to prepare for that journey, so that when it comes time for them to move onward, that they do so in the smoothest, way possible, so that they don't have any kind of reservation about the safety and the security of their family, of any kind of unfinished business, so that their spirit is just, it's just right. I'm ready to go. And my family is good. I know, they know that that they're loved, that their family is loved and cared for and is good. And they do too. They do everything that they can to to pass on their knowledge, their wisdom, their love, their care in those moments leading up to the moment. So and when they pass on, I really feel it. I'm going to keep it to my personal share. I really feel that shift, feel that movement, and another reason why we do what we do in our culture for our kupunas, for our elders, is so that, when we remember them, it's the good memories. So I'm done sharing for now. And I'm open to, questions and contributions, of course. And I'd um, love to hear from each of you about the elders and the role of elders in your lives, in your personal lives, and any story really that you might be inspired to share, comfortable enough to share about that journey um, into life after life. So, mahalo. I'm Kumu Kawika Foster, and I thank you for being here. I'm done. Kumu Lawrence Kalainea Kamani Aki.
Hey everybody, I'm on my new iPad. Ho ho! Yeah, it's just kind of getting boring and dragging, as far as Kawika sharing his story, everybody. You gotta be happy, everybody. My uncle told me a beautiful story today. I went to see him. I had to go to the dentist this morning, and I was so torn last night, thinking about, my cousin might come home from Oahu early. He might pick up my uncle, and then they're gonna head to Halava. I'm gonna miss him, before he go down, not get a chance to see him. So last night I was like, the more I thought about it, then I landed up sleeping, going to bed like after 1 o'clock in the morning. Um, I had thoughts like, oh, cancel my dentist appointment. But then I said, oh, but if I cancel my dentist appointment, then I'm not, it's going to take forever for me to get another dentist appointment, kind of thing. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go to bed. I jumped in bed 1:30 in the morning. And I said, I'm just going to let it go. Wherever I am in the morning, that's where I am. I got up in the morning, I showered, and I went straight to my dentist appointment. Okay. And the dentist was so busy this morning. I expected like be there an hour. Then I had the class with Melinda, right? So I called Catherine, or I talked to Catherine last night. Catherine, I might not be there in time. You need to go up, open the room, let Melinda in. I'll write Melinda that I might not be on time, kind of thing. So Catherine was all prepared for that. But the thing about it is I had a chance to see my uncle, everybody. Beautiful story he shared with me. Um, you know, uh, he tells me, yeah, when he came home from Oahu, because over here you gotta, the patient is always flown over to the island of Oahu. They did the surgery on her. She's been having this backache, everybody, for some time. And this is why my uncle and her were staying at the daughter's place for a couple of months now. Um, what happened was uh, when they took her, I guess she was under excruciating pain. They took her into the hospital, emergency, boom, they flew her out. And my uncle tells me that after the surgery, my cousin, his son, left the hospital and he was there with her. And she woke up or got her consciousness. And she said to him, time for me to go. Very soft voice. And she said, hug me. And he did. He hugged her And so he heard her last breath while he was hugging her. So my uncle didn't want to stay on Oahu. The son is the one that, made out, was going to be responsible for taking care of all of the arrangements. He didn't tell me whether they were going to cremate or whether they were going to ship the body home to Molokai. He didn't tell me that part, you know. But what he did tell me is when he came home on Saturday, his point was he didn't really want to see anybody. So he was staying at the daughter's house Sunday, Monday. No, I'm sorry. He came home Sunday. Yeah. So he stayed at, that's where him and my aunt was staying at. So anyway, like I said, I went there and I heard the daughter calling out to him, "Dad, Kamani is here." But I saw the daughter rushing inside, but I could see that her face was all swollen, yeah, before I got to the porch. Right? So I could tell that she was crying, a lot. So my uncle came out, we sat down and we talked. So, I said to him, well, so now you don't have the kuleana of auntie. So now you can come my house and you can come stay with me. So he says, I always wanted to, but because of auntie, she was my kuleana. I said, I understand. But what I do understand is auntie is now gone and making her way to Po. So now you can come stay with me. And he laughed. He says, of course. I said, I understand you got to go home halal. But you know what? Your son is going to be too busy for you. And I prefer that you come stay with me now and then. And if you really like it, you can come and live with me for that matter. So we had a very good talk, everybody, my uncle and I. So he went back to Halaba today. I'm heading down there tomorrow. My wife is disappointed, because she's got her Hawaiian Zoom class with the University of Hawaii. And she can't go because she has her Zoom class for Hawaiian language. But anyhow, everybody, so I'm heading down there for one simple reason. To have a discussion with my cousins. Yeah. It's important I have the discussion with my cousin. I have to point out to him the fact that once he goes and do his business, which is the hike up to the falls, then my uncle is the only one down at the house. It's not to say that my uncle can't maintain himself, yeah, but he's getting a little senile, everybody, and I have some concerns there. But let me share and let me tell the Haumanas that are here, nothing to worry about. He's all good. He's happy. Yeah. I keep telling you guys, yeah. Yeah, you gotta, like Kawika, Kawika has great memories of Auntie. Yeah, that's why he is where he is. Especially since Auntie always treated him royalty, and not me. Uh, you know, Kawika was Auntie's favorite, kind of thing. So, but in any case, everybody, she's making a good journey. Yeah. Uncle took his time to grieve, which was Sunday and Monday. And today, I was the first person to visit him. I don't know if anybody else went to visit him after I left, but I know that he's already in Halawa right now with my nephew. So that's fantastic. Oh, not my nephew, but my cousin. Yeah. So it's all good, everybody. Had a great talk with him. Just want to share that with you. But sometimes it's hard, yeah, everybody. Where concerns, death, yeah, within the family. It's hard, kind of things. And yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm selfish. I'm not sure. Now I got my uncle for myself. My auntie's not in the way. No, I shouldn't say that. But that's where I'm at. I'm just excited as far as the future is concerned. So I'm hoping that I can get him to at least come up and stay, stay a week at a time or something. Then I'll put him online with everybody, right? I've done that before, by the way. I put him online at a time, but he cannot hear too well, right? So I had to tell my cousin he had to be with him because when everybody's talking, he can't hear. So he has to, tell him what everybody's saying, kind of stuff. So, yeah, so I see that happening. You guys gonna see him online. That's my plan. Anyway, mahalo everybody. And do I grieve for my aunt? Of course. Yeah. But now that I talk to my uncle, I feel comfortable. I feel happy. Because he's happy. Yeah. He's happy that she don't have to suffer no more as far as the physical realm. He's happy that she's made her way, to pull. He's happy the fact that he always knew, in the last few years, he had to stay close to her. But then again, she had the same thing in her mind, yeah, that she had to stay close to him because she didn't trust him that he might go fall down someplace, in Halava. But it's all good, everybody. It's really, really good. Okay. And that's my share.
All right, mahalo Kumu.
Oh,
Yes.
by the way, it's good to see all of you. Yeah. Aloha, Charlie. Good to see you. And of course, I met Ikalamayan. I can't see too well. Marita. Aloha, Marita. Yeah. And good to see Kalena and Melinda here. Donna and I was in it was like crazy. Yeah. Donna and I sitting in a room with all Indians and Clubhouse. So and Marita too, that's right. The idea was, and here I was sitting there and all of my followers was coming in the room. So the question was, what the hell was I doing in that, Indian room? Hey, I like the title. Yeah. It was a real great title. So I figure I get a hard time understanding them in the first place, right? Because they all have that strong accent, right? So I figure I'll go find, sit there and listen. Maybe I get used to their accent, right? As well as all these people that speak with that Indian accent, right? And it was actually great. And I was surprised that people like Marika and Donna sat there all the way through also. Anyway, I'm talking too much. Kawika wanted to hear from all of you.
Mahalo Kumu. Let's just go from the top. Natasha, aloha. Introduce yourself and do you have a share?
Aloha. Well, do I have to start? Okay. I'm Natasha. Thank you. I said that I'm joining you. I'm from Belgium. or do you have to introduce me to do what I'm doing, or just why I'm here, or just to share something about Kupunas? Maybe I will do this.
Just whatever you're inspired. Yeah.
I come from a little family, but I learned a lot about when people from my family are going away, pass away to the other worlds, because when they are not here anymore physically, then you understand that you still can connect with them and that they learn you a lot of things. Like for my father, he was in 94, he had a head attack in his head, and so it was in coma a lot of weeks, and then I was too young to take care of him. He was living really not he was living in a little village, but out in the woods, but he couldn't walk, he couldn't talk, all that stuff. So I went to him once in a month, yes. Because I was living close to Brussels, so it was far where he was living. And I had then my family also, and work. I was really working. I was in communication, events, working, all that stuff. But then 15 years later, he had another attack in his head. And then after 2 days, he was gone. He passed away. And I changed my job. I say, I don't want to live anymore like this. I work too much with companies, with publicity, all that stuff, and it's really not my thing. And I really want to be also in service, because my father is not there anymore. I was not there for him, just once in a month, or sometimes twice in a month. When he was in coma, I was there every day, but afterwards my life was going on. So thanks to what was happening with him, and because he passed away too early, I realized that I could do something else with my life, and to be more in the moment, and to be in the service. And so I learned really a lot from him, even if he's not there anymore. But I know that he gave me a sign that be aware, open your eyes, and don't be so selfish anymore, or ego, and all that stuff. So just do what you want to do, feel what is in you, what you want to do. So this is one thing I had. And then my other mother-in-law, she passed away with a car accident. And that was also one thing, that you had a phone call for the message that they said to you. So it's hard to accept, because you can't say bye to her because it's suddenly. But I also understood so many things about that, and I'm happy that all these things was happening at that time, because I'm feeling much stronger now. Even if I would like to have them around the table for dinner or breakfast, or show them to my children now, but it's really nice to have to met them before, to have good conversations with them, and to still have them around me. So it's really important to have the kupunas, and that they can learn a lot, even if they're not there anymore. Thank you. Mahalo.
Yes, and mahalo to you too, Natasha, for being here, and for your share. Yep.
Pleasure.
Melinda, aloha. Do you have a contribution?
Hello. Excuse me. Hello. Yes, I've been listening, and yes, I was very touched. But it just reminds me that we are all soul beings here. And what I will share is that there was my father and his brother and his brother's wife, who are three people who were close to me in their own ways. So I find it fascinating when I look back upon my life, how, because I live in Europe and my family live in the US. And so even though there was the distance, there were key moments in my life when I was with my family that they gave me advice and an outlook which has led me to my life today. So I find that very, very fascinating, how even though we were apart for many, many years, there were key moments when I was younger where they said or did things that were like light bulbs in my own self. And so it was my father who was quite a he was a person who enjoyed his life to the full, but he was often very selfish. And but I what I really enjoyed about him was that he lived his life, right? And when it came time for me to make a decision to move to Europe, he just said to me, Miha, he says, there are certain things, certain opportunities that only come around once in a lifetime. And when they come, you grab them, you go for it. And so he made it clear to me that, we wish for the extraordinary in our life, but often when these moments come, we hum and haw and make excuses and he says, no. He says, those are the things you prayed for, so those are the things you receive and accept, is essentially his message. So I've always remembered that. And so that is like, that is the biggest memory I have, was that gift, is to go with that knowing, because when it is something that is pivotal. So I'm always thankful for that. And then it was my aunt and my uncle as well, who I would visit every time I travel back to the US. I always made a point to stop and stay with them. And because they lived in another part of the state, and so I'd fly in to LA and stay with them. And they too really impressed upon me the importance of living by one's truth. And not everybody's going to be happy with that, but that's them. It has nothing to do with us and living by our truth. And so, and I just loved having coffee with my aunt, because she was always giving me stories, and I would just love sitting and having coffee and having the stories. So that's also a fun memory. And when my parents divorced, my father lived with another auntie, and most of the generation, the kids and everything, they avoided her because she spoke the truth. If you didn't want to hear the truth, then you didn't hang around her. Because she just said it like it was, and she didn't mince her words. She would just say, you're having boyfriend problems? Well, look at what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. And she would just tell you, And so I loved having coffee with her. Every Sunday, I made a point to go visit her and have coffee. And of course, my sisters were always a bit shocked that I would hang out with my auntie, But so in a way, I've been fortunate, because I've had these influences that when you look at the big picture, they all really encouraged me in their own way to live by my truth and to always listen to that. So, so yeah, I feel very fortunate and blessed, and to have had these experiences. Yeah, so that's my share for now. Thank you.
What a beautiful share, Melinda. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, my mother's mother, no, my mother's father, my grandpa Ben. My mom's always telling me this one too. She said, your grandpa Ben was a really strong and hard man. And one of the things that she learned from him was to, and she's been saying it to me this last couple of months, actually, really been, sharing those words of his with me. And those words was to stand by your convictions. And he said, no matter what, he said, everybody, there's a lot of people here that and a lot of people that will come into your life that will test your convictions. He said, no matter what, always stand for your convictions. So made me think of that. Your share made me think of my grandpa, and particularly when when opportunities come, and when you have that knowing, when you have that truth, present itself, that you grab on, you hold on to it, and you follow it, because it's what you've been asking for. Really appreciate that one. Thank you so much, Melinda. Mahalo. Marita, off to you. Aloha.
Aloha. Woo. Okay, wow, great. This is there's thank you so much, Kawika, for sharing that very touching connection with your aunt. In the words that you were using, I could see and feel the incredible connection and love. And what it made me think of is that beautiful connection of food and nurturing, not only of the body, but of the soul. And just, it was almost like I was seeing through your eyes the magic of the upside down pineapple cake, and how it was being cooked, and with so much love and so much care. And then when Kumu Lawrence was saying about Kawika was, the favorite. And it kind of reminded me of my family. It's like, we can't help being who we are, And if they love us just a little bit more, that's not my problem. So it was that really lovely sort of sense of, I could just really feel that amazing connection with you and beautiful Auntie Diane. It was almost like it was a sense of, even though I didn't know her, but through your story, I know her. I felt it. So thank you. It was really touching. And for me, it's kind of really poignant. I was just talking to a friend today about my mother's father and telling stories, and my mother's mother. And it's amazing how I have a strong sense these days that all my elders, all my ancestors of many generations, they're with me. And in any moment that I need a sense of the lives that they lived before me, they did for me. And it was almost as if their actions and the way they lived their lives, I'm feeling it so strongly now in my, I don't know what you call it, like I'm a nonna, I'm a grandmother, I still feel kind of young with it all, but there's a sense of growth that comes, it's it's kind of amazing to step into it, all the different labels I could call it. I just call it nonahood, of being, but I've had a very strong feeling of late of all those teachings that have come my way with my parents are no longer in body. But they did teach me similar thing of one of my mother's favorite sayings was being really stand in your conviction. And I used to joke, because I am a bit of a comedian that way. Then if people in my life path have tried to intimidate me or to have power over me, my first response was I was brought up by Darth Vader. My mother had an incredible, strong energy, and I know it was karmic. And even though we clashed from here to eternity, I thank her, because it made me strong when I stepped out in the world, that no one could hold power over me. And so when I realized our antagonistic relationship, she taught me, like I flipped it from going, oh my God, she was just a control freak, to, oh my God, I learned to stand in my truth and my power, not from ego, but from spirit, really strong. And it was only her sense of attempting to micromanage my spirit that she taught me to stand strong, and that in the way that life is unfolding on moment-to-moment basis now, it was the greatest standing for me. And my father's favorite thing was, he always said, to thine own self be true. They can't be false to any man. It was a lovely Shakespeare quote, him saying to me, be true to yourself. And in that, everything else unfolds. So I did have a really strong, even though it was quite a battleground in my youth, my grandmother, my mother's mother, was like a, what do you call it? Like a refuge. She understood my free spirit. My mother's sister, because she was brought up with my mom, as the big bossy boot sister, she was also a refuge for me. But I feel incredibly blessed by them and by my father's people and my mother's people. And I think as I'm sliding into this stage of my life, I'm realizing that everyone that has gone before me has made me who I am. It really touches me. It really and no matter what lessons or battles that were had, it was always from love, even though it didn't seem like it at the time. It was a huge thing. But I did make peace with my mother. 30 years before she passed, we still battled, but it was because we were so alike. So it's really poignant. It's really I was speaking story, and I love it that I have the stories to tell people. I have the stories to tell my grandchildren. And the last thing I'll share is just that thing of being, I suppose, in the realm of being an elder of sorts, like my grandchildren know me as Nonna. And my little one, my youngest grandchild just this week, she's only 3 years of age, but because of the lack of being able to see them physically all the time, she asked me why I was always stuck in the phone this week. She said, Nonna, you're stuck in the phone. And I started to laugh. I thought, from her beautiful 3-year-old perspective on life, we've had a lot of interactions through the phone, and I said, well, I'm not actually stuck in the phone, Elodie. And she said, but you're always there. And I said, yes, but I'm always in your heart. And she stopped, and she actually put a hand on her heart. And I said, even though I'm not there with you physically to give you hugs, I'm here. And then she looked and she said, oh, I know that, so I love it with my grandchildren that they're aware enough, and my son has spoken to them enough about, even though your Nonna is not here to give you cuddles all the time, she's always here in your heart, no matter where we are. And I wear a whalebone medallion around my heart with 3 little whale tails. and it was carved by a beautiful Maori elder who gifted it to me. And this is before even the third grandchild had come, but he knew there was going to be 3. And I showed them that last time I was visiting them in Sydney and said, I carry you with me all the time. I sing your hearts and your spirits with me. You sit with me in my heart. When I think of you, I am there. And when you think of me, you are here. And they get it. It's not a weird thing for them. They get it, they feel it. So it's kind of flipping from the ancestors have gone before me and these beautiful beings that are going to go after me. They already are. And it's a lovely feeling to know they're going to go forward with whatever I have to offer them, which is my love, my unconditional love. And them knowing that even when I'm not going to be here in this physical form, I will be with them in their hearts. You know, it's just it's a beautiful, I don't know how else to say it. It's that unconditional love, and that thing of remembering, like my son cooks the meals that I cooked my son. And he tells them the stories of that. And it's as simple as it is, it's profoundly life-changing, you know, of just the cooking of the food, the memories of that food, the sharing of the stories around that and who that person is and their spirit and their love and their nurturing of who everybody is. I don't know how else to say it, but I just wanted to say thank you so much, Kawika, for sharing that, because it's coming up to the anniversary of my brother's death. He's been dead now for 10 years. And I may not be able to be up in Queensland to be with his wife and his daughters. I'm not going to let that annoy me, because what came to me a day ago was, if I practice what I know, even though I may not be physically there to celebrate, my sister-in-law said, I will put a chair around the table for you. There'll be one for my brother and one for me. And I said, I will be there. You know that. And I have that feel, you know, I know that one's intentions and my heart will be there. I still feel I'd like to be physically there, but if I'm not, I'm there. So I just wanted to say thank you, because even though there's been a decade past, I miss him terribly, because my brother was 10 years older than me. And I reached the age this year that he died. And it was a big hurdle for me. I'm suddenly older than my big brother, as weird as that sounds. But it made me anxious, you know, to think. It was almost like part of me was like, I can't be older than my big brother. That's really weird. But he was a huge mentor. But he's with me all the time. I hear him. He comes to me. He still advises me. He still bossy boots me around. But I do appreciate it, because it's the love. It's the ties that keep on going on and on and on. So thank you, Mahalo. And thank you, Lawrence, too, for the sharing of the business that has to be done, and still the looking after our elders and our loved ones, and what needs to be pragmatic and practical, and the offerings that are made, and nothing's ever taken for granted. So thank you. Thank you.
So
Mahalo, Marita.
so Marita, what I heard was, so the last thing that I want to share, and 10 minutes later you're still talking. Did you hear what I said?
Kavika, you're on mute.
Okay, let me unmute. Okay, mahalo. Let's see, is there someone that's called that would like to go next with a share, an introduction of yourself, and a share of your kupuna, your elders, preparations for the journey? I don't know.
I'm happy to do a share if no one's wanting to jump in there.
Actually, Kalena was jumping in.
Oh, go on, Kalena, go.
No. What do you mean no?
No, I was scrolling through the gallery, but since I
Oh,
think you called on
Was-
me for a reason.
of course.
Yeah, share with us, Kalena. Come on.
Okay.
Okay.
So when I moved from San Diego back to Hawaii, it was because my my grandmother, I cared for them for a few months for my grandparents, and they were pretty, they're up there in age. I think my grandmother was 85 and my grandfather was 90 maybe. And we actually had well, my grandmother and I had a falling out that caused me to just pack my bags and leave. And it was really, well, it was hard because the relationship never felt the same after, where I wouldn't answer her calls when she would try to call me, or if I had the phone in my hand and she was trying to call me, I'd just send it to voicemail because it just really, it was a hard time. And then my mom called me and said, you know, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you know, your grandmother's calling you. She was a very proud lady, and I would say please and thank you weren't things that she would say a lot. But when I came, I did a lot of de-junking and massive cleaning because I am just that way inclined. I'm an organized person and I just like things tidy. So when I went there, that was the first thing I did, was just, you know, it took me a couple months working every day to do their house by myself, to clean it out and declutter and de-junk. And so my mom told me, you know, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but this is your grandmother's way of trying to mend the relationship. And so, you know, she's calling you, so think about it, but, you know, go see her. And I was like, oh, okay. And then when I went, it might have been Christmas, because I decided I didn't want to go back to the mainland. I wanted to stay in Hawaii. So I just started all over. And when I went, I just realized, I just could see how much her health had just deteriorated, like in just a few months. And I just thought, okay, you know what, just forget it, you know. And when I moved here, and you know, I was seeing this healer. I've mentioned that I was seeing a healer. And the first thing she asked me on the first visit to her was, who's Rachel? And I said, that's my grandma. Now she's been passed for 10 years now. And the healer kept telling me, she goes, your grandmother is very, very sorry. She wants to let you know that she's very sorry for how she treated you, and that she hopes that you'll forgive her. And she kept apologizing every week. I would go back for I don't know how many months, but she kept apologizing. And, you know, I said, Grandma, I forgive you. It's done. And the advice that she was giving me was, she just wanted me to be happy, because she said, you know, she admitted, she was like, I can count 5 times on my hand, 5 times how many times I could say that I was honestly happy in my life. And I see that you have a tendency to hang on to things, and I don't want you to end up like me at the end of my life. And she's like, I keep apologizing because I didn't realize what I was doing until I got here. And it's like you go over there and then you're looking back and you're just like, ugh, you know. At least that's what she was saying. And she could see me not necessarily going down the same path, but she just wanted to make sure. She said, I just want you to be happy. Let it go. And then she was like, ho'oponopono. Well, the healer was from Poland, so she couldn't say ho'oponopono. She kept saying, she was like, what? I was like, ho'oponopono. She goes, yeah, that. Your grandma says, do that every day. And here I am learning the traditional way with you and Kumu Lawrence. So yeah, advice from the other side, just be happy and do ho'oponopono.
Great advice. Awesome advice. So direct, so simple, thank you so very much, Coletta, for that share. What a beautiful share. And thanks for being here again. Mahalo. It's open. Let's see. Catherine, did you want to go next?
Sure. Look, just a quick one of both of my parents have passed, and I'm just reflecting on just particularly with my mother. I didn't have it in any design, or knowing at that point when she died about making peace. But I was very fortunate that we had, because we had a very troubled relationship. And I remember, we had this very, very powerful moment before I traveled, because I was overseas when she died. And before I left to go overseas, we had a very powerful get together, which looking back, yeah, it was, I suppose, the closest thing to a Ho'oponopono session. So that when she did die, and it was a car accident, yet it wasn't a surprise because she'd had trouble with alcohol and all sorts of things anyway. I remember there was and this is before I was even on a spiritual journey of any deep meaning, but I do remember, there was no surprise, even though it was a shock. And B, it was like this sense of, it made sense. But I remember it was my first experience of when I returned back to Australia, because I was living in London, and I came back for her funeral, and I slept in her bed. And it was my really first powerful experience of really knowing that she was standing at the end of the bed, and really connecting in, because I, again, wasn't brought up with any form of religion or spirituality in my family. So the gift that she gave me of not only letting me know that she was there and she was looking after me and everything was okay and everything was good, but that there is another realm. It was like this confirmation of, it's not just when you die, that's it. There's, and that she was there watching over me. And that's when my spiritual journey earnestly began, was after she died. And I could really sense that she was there. And so that was a very wonderful experience on many different levels. But my father, who was the complete opposite, his was a death that was a long drawn out death. He was quite old and he was having dementia and things. But I remember spending the last month or so with him, sitting by his bed, and he would go in and out of, being conscious and aware of what was going on. And having these really beautiful moments where he would all of a sudden remember a time when we'd done things together. So again, it was a really lovely clearing of anything in our relationship. But again, the gift that he gave me was when he passed, I was out on the ocean with a friend, and I remember sitting there because it was kind of, you know, imminent that he was going to go. And I was sitting out on this water on the ocean and looking at this beautiful island and thinking about him, and this phone call came through that he had passed. And as I made my way back to the shore to go to the hospital, there was just this overwhelming sense of joy and this glistening diamond off the water, and everything was just incredibly crystal clear and happy. So much to the point, by the time I got to the hospital, I had to really tone down the joy that I was feeling, because of course the rest of the family and the people in the hospital weren't quite experiencing the same thing. But I remember this beautiful moment of going into his room, because all the family, funnily enough, had been in and they all left, and I had him in the room on my own, and I stood there and I could again have that sense of feeling of, I saw you yesterday and your spirit was in your body, and then today I'm here and there's your body and your spirit isn't in it, but your spirit is still here, but it's not in there. So again, it was another confirmation. And I remember doing Oli Mahalo to him, because I'd learned about these things, and it was such a beautiful experience to be able to chant this deep and profound thanks at the moment that his spirit was leaving. And then I did something that was just very intuitive. I touched every part of his body, starting, I can't remember where I started, but I just remember I just went right over his whole body, and of course it was cold. And then I got to his chest, and there was still this warmth in his heart. And I remember just putting my face onto his chest, and yeah, just huge, big, beautiful, I love you and thank you. And it was such a joyous moment. But again, just the gift of them giving me the experience of not only being at peace, but also that there is another realm, confirmation that there is another realm, and that it goes on. So and just mahalo Kawika for sharing Auntie Diane tonight. When I saw that Facebook page and Jason was sharing about her lilikoi butter, I will never forget that lilikoi butter that she made. And that she used to send those beautiful plates down with Josh or whoever it was to make sure that I had something to eat when you guys were either in town, or, you know, she always knew when someone was on their own in the valley and needed looking after. And it was never a big hoo-ha about it. It was just, yeah. So thank you for reminding me of all of those beautiful moments that I remember. And the last memory I have of her is when we went down, it was Kumu, Kiri and I, and we sat with Uncle Pali on the his little hale there, and he was sharing stories. And I remember Auntie Diane coming down. It was probably the happiest I'd seen her probably ever. She was really relaxed and so enjoying having the company. And it was a beautiful sunny day, and she was smiling, and yeah, it was a beautiful, that's my, you know, my last memory of her. It was a really beautiful time. So yeah, mahalo to Auntie, and Mahalo for this opportunity for us to share.
Mahalo, Catherine. Yeah, I love those stories that you have to share of your parents, and you know, the things that you did and you experienced with them, especially in their last moments. So mahalo for that. Okay, we've got 3 more to go, and let's get it going. So Marika, Joe, Donna, who's next?
Okay. Aloha and mahalo for all your sharing. And yeah, let's see where I'm going to. I'm very happy my parents are still alive. And to get in touch with the Hawaiian culture maybe was the best thing that could happen to me, to get more in touch with my parents. From the culture I come, you know, we're Swiss people, or maybe in my family, we're not expressing feelings so much, which doesn't mean that love is not there. But yeah, I just could feel it and observe it from a different perspective. Also, how in these countries, how family works and how the responses to the elders. And that gave me a really new perspective, and learning to feel and express the love more conscious in direction to my parents. And it was maybe a week ago, I visited my parents, and you know, there was this moment I just could take a breath, watching them, and just being touched by the beauty of their love they're sharing. And it was a short moment, but having this awareness, wow. And my parents, you know, in one way, they're so humbly, so natural. You know, when you're coming home, they're cooking for you. You don't need to tell them that you're hungry. And even my father, who normally doesn't cook, he has his barbecue, and he makes sure every time we show up that we're fed. And yeah, they do it because they love us. And now it's also the time to give that love back. Because they definitely get in a place where they're more vulnerable, maybe not able to do all the things. And yeah, it's just good that I could learn or observe that in another culture. Yeah, that's yeah, and the beauty and the love they're sharing, that's yeah, so natural, because they love their children, and I love them. How?
Oh, mahalo. Yes, you know, there's that. Yeah, that was really nice. Love that, Marika. Thank you. You know, so many times the things that our elders do, our grandparents, our parents, even, you know, goes unnoticed. Yeah. And so it's yeah, it's always a great experience to recognize it, you know, recognize those things that they do, you know, and more importantly, recognize the purpose and reason behind what they do. Yeah. Mahalo for that one, Marika. Aloha. Okay, Donna or Joe. Looks like Joe, are you there? You go ahead, Donna, if you want to go.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Kawika, just, can you hear me? Do you hear me? Oh.
Yeah, I can
Should I
hear
go
you.
ahead? Oh, sorry. Yeah, so I really enjoyed Kawika's sharing. You could really sense the essence of the aloha that Kawika felt and doing in the actions, in the, it's implicit in it. And it just came across, and parents, it is that I got the essence of it from Kawika and everyone who's sharing, the essence of the way love is conveyed, and people do it differently. Certainly in my family, European family, it's not demonstrative, the love, the way it's expressed. And I kind of, having lived and worked in other cultures where, elders and family express it much more openly, I sort of used to think, well, I wish my family was like that. But at the same time, the way my mother became incredibly supportive and in my life, and she used to say, unto thine own self be true, and follow your heart. And she really was one of, well, the only person really who, I don't know, seemed to understand me 360 degrees. And she's in palliative care right now, so she's had a massive stroke, and I'm able to connect through video, but it's a bit difficult because sometimes there's a time difference. She's in the UK and I'm in the South Pacific, so sometimes I just have a video call, and if she's sleeping, I just sit with her, and I pray and I talk to her, and so we're just sharing time together, and I know that she knows that I love her. And because she's in a fragile state, I'm thinking about her all the time in my day, and I find that it is all those little things that I'm remembering. It's all, the things that she said, or the company that we spent, when we had deep conversations, or, humor. Great, she had an amazing sense of humor, and all of that comes back during the day. I just think through the memories, because she can't really speak anymore. She can say a few sentences sometimes. So for me at the moment is very much valuing the really beautiful aspects of our relationship, which actually, although was very turbulent in the early days, latterly we just came to have this deep understanding of each other, and acceptance, and a lot of it was unspoken. It didn't need to be spoken, it just was. And yeah, I miss her. I miss her a lot at the moment, but because I can't travel because of COVID, to be with her, but it's the relationship is ongoing, every day, because of the where she's at, and it's really beautiful. It's really giving me that opportunity to review where I'm at, to talk to her, to pray, to connect. And so, yeah, I'm just really grateful for that. And yeah, and I'm really aware, of the deep love that she had. And while it's really not the British way to express that openly, for me, there's, I came to understand it's in all the little things that she did, in all the ways that she supported. And, I worked overseas in my 20s and 30s, and I would ring her from the most remote places, and, she would always be in warmth, and she never said, don't, what are you doing? I rang her from Tajikistan once to saying that I was going on holiday to Afghanistan, and she never said don't. She never said. She was just openly intrigued, and I don't know, just supported because it was about following my heart, and she just supported it. So yeah, I'm just in that place of gratitude and having the space while she's still here to really go, well, it's about acceptance and of the relationship we had. And yeah, it goes very, very deep. I'm grateful, and I'm happy with my relationship. Mahalo.
Mahalo, thank you, Joe. Yeah, it's 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 difficult with the restrictions at the at this time, particularly with with being present for our family, and physical, and so it's very beautiful to hear of the connection, energetically and spiritually, and in its essence in that way. So mahalo. Okay, Donna, your turn, last one to go.
Hello, Akalamai Joe. For the start of that talk, sorry, I had a bad connection and I wanted you to go first. So happy that happened. You're a Kupuna, just want to say that. Sorry. I'm actually going to do a short sharing. I feel like we've come to the end of this talk. One thing my dad said to me, he's still living, he's Kupuna, he's 82 years old now, and he is my rock, he is my foundation, he is our home. He is an amazing example of Kuleana. He absolutely holds the fort down for absolutely every single person in our family. And that is what I hope to one day step into in my process and growing. He's said, he speaks about his death quite, lightfully, and he's ready for it at any time. It's about us doing the hana and staying as a family to make sure we're all ready. But he said to me, Donna, cry for 2 days and then get on with your life. Just 2 days and then move on. You need to get on with it. And I remember when he told me years ago this, I thought, 2 days, this is not long enough. I need 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years. What are you doing? But the life that he's in the living allows us to prepare for the passing of our elders. We know it's coming, and that practicality of, as Kumu Lawrence shared, of getting things together is just such a way to prepare ourselves and feel so good about them going, to be unbound and freed from their physical body at that age. If they've been blessed enough to make it to Kupuna, oh my goodness, like I know my body hurts sometimes. So yeah, thank you for the sharings. I have loved them all. Yeah, it's amazing how intense the memory is. And just to end actually back on Auntie Diane with your opening, Kawika, I remember being in Halava and just the smell of the cake and the holding of the tin, and her instructing Jessica on how to make this turnover cake, and the physical parts of a person that you remember is incredible after they've gone. Their actual form, their body, their skin, their softness. It's such a nice memory to have. And because their spirit is always with us, we always are connected there. So that's the memory I'd love to hold. And mahalo. Thank you so much for holding this topic. This is the topic. I love Kupuna. I love our Kupuna so much. They're my best friends. All my friends are Kupuna. Ever since I was small, I've been so blessed to have them as my good friends. So I'm always advocating and speaking for them. Thank you.
Mahalo, Donna. Yes. Okay, so we have come to the end. These Kukakuka talk stories are only meant to be, they're only meant to be for an hour. And it's all good, you know what I mean? That the last 3 weeks have just been, it's been so good that it's, you just let them go. And particularly this one about our Kupunas, our elders, and that journey. You just talk about it. Just talk about it and let it go for as long as it needs to go. So I want to thank you all for being here. And yes, we have a very renowned saying in our culture, a proverb, and that saying is Nana ike Kumu, look to the source. And Nana, to look, and ike Kumu is the root, the stalk, like the main stalk, So in its essence, it's communicating us to look to the source. Yeah. And the source, of course, is that of our elders. So I want to mahalo you for being here, and for all of your beautiful shares about your families, and how that journey has presented itself in your lives through your loved ones. And mahalo. Thank you so much for being here. As you know, this happens every week. It's the Kukakuka TalkStory, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And I look forward to seeing you all next week if you can make it. I'd love to have you. Any closing words from anybody? Yay!
Kupuna, tell them you love them if you haven't already done it.
I love those so much. Mahalo. Thank you. Hui ho. We'll see you in the next one. And take care. And be happy. Tell your family, your loved ones, that you love them as much as you can. And a hui ho till we meet again. Aloha, everyone. 3, 2, 1.